All praises to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And peace to everyone joining me on this program. This is the Fountain of Israel's Bible Studies program. And as always, it's an honor for me to stand before you on the Lord's holy Sabbath day. And once again, this is not the ordinary Sabbath. This is one of the annual Sabbath, the high holy days, one of the Moedims, or set apart times, or appointed times, appointed meetings. This one is the Feast of Tabernacles, the Feast of Tabernacles, or the Feast of Ingathering, right? Now, this particular feast, it symbolizes the Most High gathering his people together, right? So before we get started with that, let me just thank everyone and invite everyone to like, share, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend, and check the description box down below. Now, with that part out of the way, we're going to go ahead and jump into our lesson. Now, one of the first things I want to do, one of the first things I want to address right out the gate is you're going to have people, and you may have some who say, we don't need to celebrate it. We're not in Jerusalem. We're not in the land and stuff like that, right? So we don't need to do it. Some people say, well, we need to go over to the land, okay? We need to go over to the land to do it right, to do it properly, and things like that. And I have a couple of thoughts on that. So I want to go ahead and address that before we get into the actual meat of the lesson. So let's apply logic real quick. Right now, at this moment, in Jerusalem, what do we have? We have the Jewish people and we have Palestinians, and they're fighting and going back and forth over the land and who should be there and things like that, correct? If I'm right, give me a 100 in the chat or in the comment section down below, all right? So I want to make sure everything I'm saying is very factual. The other thing we have is we have some Israelites who go over there and are having a hard time with, citizenship or getting help, or because they don't really want them there, right? And they don't really see them as the real people, right? Just because we say we are doesn't mean that everybody else believes it, right? So they're having a lot of conflict over there, wouldn't you say? There's a lot of conflict, and so that aside, those three things aside, right? Then we have the temple itself. Is the temple ready? Can we go to the temple and worship like we once did before? No. Okay. Another thing. Do we have the Levitical priesthood or a Sanhedrin or someone who can help us do this feast? Do we make sacrifices today? So my point is, how exactly can we do it, even if we had the wherewithal, had the ability to go over there, to go to the other land? How exactly are we supposed to do that? My contention is that I think the Bible spoke about that, a time where we won't be able to do that. Okay, that's perfectly sound. I mean, it is in the scripture. So I do want to go to a few scriptures that's available to us that's going to at least give us an idea that the Messiah saw it coming, or the Most High kind of saw it coming, that it was going to be like this one day, right? Besides that, and I won't turn to it this time, but if we go to Revelations 2:9 and 3:9, even that suggests that is the synagogue of Satan there now. So what would be the point of going there if it is that it is some people who say they are Jews and who are not, and do lie, and it is a synagogue of Satan, Hazan, or Revelation 2:9 and Revelation 3:9. So again, what would be the point? What would be the point of you going, right? So that answers the question of, why even go over there, right? But should we worship? Should we celebrate? Because make no mistake, these feast days is about worshiping, right? Even though, we have a big feast, we eat, we make merry, all that, but it's worshiping the Most High. Okay, so let's not allow that to get lost, right? So with that, let me jump to 10. John chapter 4. I'm going to go to John chapter 4, and I'm going to start at verse 20 real quick. Okay. So you guys jot this down in there. But let's go to John 4 And I'm going to start at verse 20. And I'm going to read out of the scriptures on this one. And some of the other lesson I'll read out of King James. But verse 20, it says, our fathers worship on this mountain, but you people say that in Jerusalem is the place where one needs to worship. He's going to say, so that's what the lady, you know, the woman at the well and all that. Okay, you say, you people, you Jews, you say that we need to worship in Jerusalem. What did Yeshua say? He said, Yeshua said unto her, woman, believe me, the hour is coming when ye shall neither on this mountain nor in Jerusalem, okay, nor in Jerusalem worship the Father. Neither in this mountain where they were right now or in Jerusalem, right? You worship what you do not know. We worship what we know because the deliverance is of the Yahudim, okay? The deliverance is of the Yahudim, okay? Is of Judah, is of the Jews, right? But it's talking about all Israel at this time, you know. The kingdom split and now they refer to himself as, you know, Judah. 23, but the hour is coming and now is when the true worshipers shall worship the Father in spirit and truth, for the Father also does seek such to worship him. So that's what that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. Okay, so quickly, I can tell you right now, quickly, some butter muffin will come along and just say, hey, you don't have to do this and you don't worry about it. Well, I mean, even the Messiah is saying that it's gonna be a time where where the Father's gonna be looking for people to worship in spirit and in truth, not in the mountain and not in Jerusalem, right? There's gonna be a time. Now we know at the end of it all, you know, Jerusalem will be restored, the kingdom will be established, you know, come on earth and all that. We know that. And then people will, all nations will flow onto the mountain of the Lord and worship and all. We know that. But he said there will be a time. Isn't this not the time? And the past since 70 AD, all of that, since 70 AD up until now, is that time where we can't go to the temple. And even if you did, what good will it do you? Right? Okay, are you with me so far? Now I'm gonna read a little bit more. Don't worry, because it was talked about. We're gonna go to Matthew or Matthew, okay, 24. Okay, let's go to Matthew 24, and we'll read 2 through 4 real quick. All right, what does he say? And Yeshua said unto them, do you not see all these? Truly, I say to you, not one stone shall be left here upon another at all, which shall not be thrown down. And as he sat on the Mount of Olives, the taught ones came to him separately, saying, say to us, when shall this be? And what is the sign of your coming and of the end of the age? Okay, so I just want to kind of give you guys an idea of what's going on. Okay. So he was just saying that he was speaking of the temple there. He said, no stone will be unturned. All this stuff's going to come down. That's basically what he's saying. All of this is going to come down, right? So there's not going to be a temple that you can worship, right? At. All right? There's not going to be that. But you say, oh, well, you know, this New Testament. Okay, we're going to go to the Old Testament too. We're going to do that too. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. I just want to show you guys that, yes, I have great respect for Jerusalem, the new one. I have great respect for Jerusalem. I do. And I believe we will worship at Jerusalem once again. I do. Let's go to Shemot or Exodus 12. Exodus 12. And when I get to Exodus 12, I'm going to start at 21. I want to show you guys something, right? Exodus 12, I want to show you something real quick. So now we're going to get into the very first Passover, okay? So this is one of the feast days, right? You go to Leviticus 23, one of the feast days, correct? So if I go Exodus 12 and 21, it will read, and Moshe called for all the elders of Yisrael and said unto them, go out and take lambs for yourself according to the claims and slay the Passah or the Passover, to kill the Passover. All right? That's really all I need. I'm going to read a little bit more, but this is really all I need, okay? I'm going to just go all the way to 28, right? So verse 22, and ye shall take a bunch of hyssop and dip it in the blood that is in the basin, and strike the lintel and the two doorposts with the blood that is in the basin, and you and none of you shall go out of the door of his house until morning. And Yah shall pass on to smite the Mitzrites, and shall see the blood on the lintel and on the two doorposts. And Yah shall pass over the door and not allow the destroyer to come into your houses to smite you. And ye shall guard his word as a law for you and your sons forever. And it shall be when you come to the land which Yah gives you, as he promised, that ye shall guard his service. And it shall be when your children say to you, what does this service mean to you? Then ye shall say, it is the Passah slaughtering of Yah, right? The Passover, right? Who passed over the houses of the children of Israel in Mitzrayim when he smote the Mitzrites and delivered our households. Okay, talking about Egyptians, right? And the people bowed their head and did obeisance. And the children of Israel went away and did so as Yah had commanded Moshe and Aaron. So they did. Okay, so I'm pointing this out because this is the first Passover and it is in Mitzrayim, or it's in Egypt. Okay, so the first one is done in Egypt. Okay, so not in Jerusalem, not in the land. Okay, it just wasn't there. Okay, it wasn't there. But we're gonna do one other thing, right? That was the first one. Now watch this. Now they start doing it. You're gonna do it as a statute forever, I mean, year to year, every time, right? At the appointed time. Well, of course, we can go to Leviticus and we can see that it was done each time, right? But I'm not gonna even do that. We could, but I'm not gonna do that. You guys know Leviticus 23 is there. You know that. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna just go to Numbers real quick. Gonna go to Numbers 14. Numbers 14. All right, and I'm gonna start when I get to Numbers, or Bar Mikvah. Numbers, let's see here, 14, and I'm gonna start at 26. Start at verse 26, which reads, and Yah spoke to Moshe and to Aaron, saying, how long shall this evil generation have this grumbling against me? I've heard the grumblings with the children of Israel are grumbling against me. Say unto them, as I live, declares Yah, as you have spoken in my hearing, so I do to you. The carcasses of you who have grumbled against me are going to fall in this wilderness. All of you who were registered according to your entire number, from 20 years old and above. None of you except Caleb, son of Yephuneh, and Yehoshua, son of Nun, shall enter the land which I swore I would make you dwell in. But the little ones whom you said would become a prey, I shall bring in, and they shall know the land which you have rejected. Okay? So, he's giving this to them. From 20, where did I start? Right here. Right? So, I started that one. That was over in 26. Let me back up to 21. 21. But truly, as I live, and all the earth is filled with the esteem of Yah, for none of these men have seen my esteem and the signs which I did in Mitzrayim and in the wilderness, and have tried me now these 10 times, and have disobeyed my voice, shall see the land of which I swore to their fathers, nor any of those who scorn me see it. But my servant Caleb, because he has a different spirit in him and has followed me completely, I shall bring into the land where he went, and his seed shall inherit it. Since the Amalekites and the Canaanites and the dwelling in the valley turn back tomorrow and set out into the wilderness by the way of the Sea of Reeds. Okay, so I wanted to get back in there to show you over here in Numbers how long, like when it started, right? When they start having these issues, right? Now let me jump back up. I wanted to start. I backed up to 21 just to give you a little bit more context, but now I'm going to go ahead and jump back forward, okay, to 33. Here you go. 33, it says, and your sons shall be wanderers in the wilderness, what? 40 years. Now, Leviticus, last time we checked, we can look at Leviticus, and we see where the feast days are laid out. We go back to Exodus, which is before also, where we can see the first Passover, right? And then you go to Leviticus and you see that they're supposed to be doing this year to year. Now, keep that in mind, year to year. So now here it says, okay, you're going to be in the wilderness. Okay? It says, and your sons shall be wanderers in the wilderness 40 years, and shall bear your whorings until your carcasses are consumed in the wilderness, according to the number of the days in which you spied out the land. 40 days, a day for a year, a day for a year. You are to bear your crookedness 40 years, and you shall know my breaking off. Okay? You shall know my breaking off. I am Yah, I have spoken. I shall do this to all this evil congregation who are meeting against me. In this wilderness they are consumed, and there they die. And the men whom Moshe sent to spy out on the land, who returned and made all the congregation grumble against him by bringing an evil report of the land, even those men who brought the evil report about the land died by the plague before Yah. Of those men who went to spy out the land, only Yehoshua, son of Nun, and Caleb, son of Yephuneh, remained alive. And when Moshe spoke these words to all the children of Israel, the people mourned greatly. And they rose up early in the morning and went up to the top of the mountain, saying, see, we have indeed sinned, but we shall go up to the place which Yah had spoken of. Okay, so I wanted to read this. So my point is this. The feast days were set, and even after they were set, they were expected to keep them year to year, and they dwelled in the wilderness 40 years. So they couldn't really, they didn't do it. They kept it, but they didn't do it in Jerusalem. At this point, they hadn't even made it there yet. They haven't even made it there yet. They don't make it there until Joshua, right? Okay, so they didn't make it to Joshua, so we saw that over there. So speaking of Joshua, we're going to go ahead and go up to Joshua, Yehoshua, right? Let's go there first, real quick. I just want to show you guys something real quick, and then we'll kind of get into the lesson. We'll get into the meat of the lesson. We're just answering the people like, should we do it? Is that even necessary? Or what? I'm encouraging you to do it. I'm encouraging you to keep the feast. Like Paul said, therefore let us keep the feast. All right? All right? So there was a keeping the feast before we got into the land, before there was a temple. At least 40 years of that. Okay? At least 40 years of that. And then we saw that there's going to be no temple. The time will come when there is no temple, but the Father still seeks those who worship him in spirit and in truth. And the feast days is worship of the Father. He said, therefore, these are my feasts. Joshua, okay? Yehoshua chapter 5. I'm just going to read verse 6. Watch this. It said, what? For the children of Israel walked 40 years in the wilderness till all the nation, the men of battle who came out of Mitzrayim, were consumed because they did not obey the voice of Yah, to whom Yah swore not to show them the land which Yah had sworn to their fathers that he would give us, a land flowing with milk and honey. Okay? So all of that. So do you want to worship in spirit and truth? This is part of the law. You have people who were in captivity. You see that they were trying their best, doing the very best they can to keep the law. Daniel, he still tried to pray towards the east, pray toward Jerusalem, tried to keep the law, dietary law, stuff like that. Not just give me some vegetables and water and all this other stuff. So he's still trying to do it. Not in the land, still trying to keep the law. Doing the best he can. Are you doing your best? Are you doing anything? Something. So I want to get you to understand, but you're going to let some dirty foot duck walk around and come tell you, oh, well, you don't have to, don't worry about it. You don't have to do it. Is it because you can't do it right? Nobody says this is going to be perfect. Without the Levitical priests, which that'll be restored in the future, we don't know if it's going to be right or not. Without Yeshua, we don't know. And how to do it, we're looking at it here, but it's not in 4K. We don't see that clear a picture. We see pretty good, but we don't see that clear a picture. Understand? Take, clean animals and sacrifice and slitting the throat. No, I get it. But we won't know until then. But at least now we can what? Rehearse the matter. We can at least rehearse the matter. Yeah, some people who are not going to even want to try. Not going to even want to even try. Lift a finger. No, we don't. Okay, that's cool. That's cool. Can you say the person is sinning if they do try to memorialize these feast days to celebrate and worship before the Lord? I mean, he even said over here. If we look at Deuteronomy, right? I'm gonna do, and we're gonna get back to it, but I'm just gonna go. Let me go back one book real quick. Okay, we're gonna go to Deuteronomy 14, and then we'll really start that lesson, right? Deuteronomy 14, right? Even here, he said, I'm gonna go 14 and 23, and he says, "And ye shall eat before Yah your Elohim in the place where he chooses to make his name dwell." In the place where he didn't say in Jerusalem. Didn't say in the mountain, where he chooses. Does he have some worshipers here in the West? Can he put his name on there? Can he bless these people? Like if you look at their fruit. If you look at their fruit, is the Most High Yah prospering them? Is he with them? Is it possible that he placed his name on their home or on their land? Or in their community, right here in the West? Is it possible? Is it possible? Okay. And there's a lot of spots where he said where he places his name, in the place where he chooses to put his name. I just gave you one example. You guys know there's more. Let's keep that in mind, people. We got to keep that in mind. We can go to Leviticus, and I'll be in the King James. We're going to go to Leviticus 23. Because we're talking about the feast days, so we always got to go here and at least go over it, right? Okay, Feast of Tabernacles, Feast of Ingathering. The Moedim, the appointed times. Leviticus 23, first verse. "And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them concerning the feast of the Lord, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations," holy gatherings, right? "Even these are my feasts." These are his feasts. So when we observe them, they're for him. Yeah, you get to fill your belly. Yeah, you get to have a drink. You get to have some food and all that. It's for him. "These are my feasts." Doesn't change the fact who these feasts belong to, right? "These are my feasts." Drop down to 4. "These are the feasts of the Lord, even holy convocations, which ye shall proclaim in their seasons," Moedim, appointed time, right? We're going to drop down to 23 to get to the feast that is germane to what we're talking about now. 33, "And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, The 15th day of this 7th month shall be the Feast of Tabernacles for 7 days unto the Lord. On the first day shall be an holy convocation, and ye shall do no servile work therein." Work for money, right? "The 7 days ye shall offer a offering made by fire unto the Lord, and on the 8th day shall be a holy convocation unto you," which is why I have an 8th day lesson as well, right? It's just a closing of the Feast of Tabernacles, really. But it is symbolic of something too. "And ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. It is a solemn assembly, and ye shall do no servile work therein." So no work for money. Okay? So no work. Okay? Not the 7 days. It's just the 7th day, or that first day, I should say, that first day of the Feast of Tabernacles, and the 8th day. Don't work in those 2 days. It's very specific, right? So let's just keep it like that. Now, if you will, you're going to join me over in Deuteronomy 16. Okay? Go to Deuteronomy 16, Deuteronomy or Devarim 16. And we're going to do verse 16, right? We're going to read verse 16 and 17, Deuteronomy. 3 times in a year shall all thy males appear before the Lord thy God in the place which he shall choose. Again, in the place that he shall choose. Why not just say Jerusalem, right? Because we know they were not there yet. And yet they're observing the feast. Yet they are doing the feast. Not in Jerusalem, not in a mountain. And then he goes on to say what the 3 main feasts are where you're supposed to gather. In the Feast of Unleavened Bread, and in the Feast of Weeks, which is Pentecost, and in the Feast of Tabernacles. And they shall not appear before the Lord empty, meaning you need to bring your tithe. And if it's too much stuff, then you bring your money to get all those, to buy all those things that you desire and so on and so forth. Okay, we'll talk about that towards the end. Okay, so you won't come in empty. You got to offer something up, right? 17, every man shall give as he is able, according to the blessing of the Lord thy God, which he has given thee. So when you do gather, okay, you prepare a big feast. But if you go to someone's feast, don't go empty. Go in there with something. Think of it as potluck. Ask what do they need? Okay, you need to make some dishes or you need to pitch in because it's for everybody. You're going to eat. You and your family, you're going to eat. And so you want to bring something as well. Okay. Like we do in our modern day, what? It's the cookout, right? So don't come empty-handed. Put it together, okay? This is where all these cookouts and these feasts and all this is where it comes from right here. Israel been doing this, okay? Israel been doing this. To do this on a normal basis, they were doing it every year, okay? So let's go on over to Exodus 23, okay? All right, still wait. Before they even ever got into the land. Okay. Exodus 23. And we'll start at 14. And it says what? 3 times thou shalt keep a feast unto me in the year. Okay. Thou shalt keep the feast of unleavened bread. Thou shalt eat unleavened bread 7 days as I command thee in the time appointed of the month of Abib. For in it thou camest out from Egypt. And none shall appear before me empty. Bring something to the table. What do you bring to the table? Right? 16. And the feast of harvest, the first fruit of thy labors, like the feast of weeks, which thou hast sown in the field, and the feast of ingathering, the feast of tabernacles, right? Which is in the end of the year, when thou hast gathered in thy labors out of the field. Like it's like after the feast of tabernacles or 8th day, that's it. That's the conclusion of that particular season, a feast. That's the conclusion. This is feast in the end of the year. Now, of course, obviously they worked off the Hebrew calendar. So September, we call September a lot of these. So, but you guys get it, because there's nothing going on in wintertime. There's nothing going on in the dead of winter. Things don't grow like that. It's certainly not, over there, right? It's not like that. So this is the end of it. And you're done with the feast at that time, okay? So now we're going to go to Leviticus 25, okay? We're going to go there, Leviticus 25. And I'm going to read a little bit, I'm going to jump around, but we're going to start at verse 1, okay? We're going to jump around a little bit, but we're going to start at verse 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses in Mount Sinai, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, When you come into the land which I give you, then shall the land keep a Sabbath unto the Lord. 6 years thou shalt sow thy field, and 6 years thou shalt prune thy vineyard, and gather in the fruit thereof. But in the 7th year shall be a Sabbath of rest unto the land, a Sabbath for the Lord. Thou shalt neither sow thy field nor prune thy vineyard. And we're going to drop down to verse 8. And thou shalt number even 7 Sabbaths of years unto thee, 7 times 7 years. And the space of the 7 Sabbaths of years shall be unto thee 49 years. Then shalt thou cause the trumpet of the Jubilee to sound on the 10th day of the 7th month. In the day of atonement shall ye make the trumpet sound throughout all the land. Okay. So in this, you have a year of liberty, like the 50th year of liberty. Okay. Even your land gets a rest, right? You're gonna 7 years. You're planting and sowing. You're reaping and sowing and reaping and sowing and reaping, taking care of your fields and stuff like that. And then in the after the 7th year, you let it rest, right? So even that gets a rest. Even that gets a Sabbath. Now, obviously, it doesn't apply to you. You don't have land. It doesn't apply to you. You live in an apartment or something. You don't have a field. It doesn't apply to you. You can't do it. Okay? But this is what I just want you guys to understand, what God is trying to do. Now, in this particular feast, it's about ingathering, where we gather together. Remember, he scattered us out. Okay? He scattered us all over the world. But this symbolizing us coming together. That's why all the men, because they're the head of their family, so all the men has to come in, okay, and of course with your family, but all the men come in, okay, because he represents his family. You come in, gather together, and you feast together. So I would encourage many of you guys, get together. If you know some other people, like-minded individuals, you can come together, okay? Get together on somebody's land, okay? Go to a park, something. But if you're in a position where you have to, you be by yourself, or just you and your family, okay, then do that. Because you're memorializing the thing. You have your home. Do you worship in your home? You pray in your home? Have you been blessed in your home? You'll know by your fruit. Is there righteousness in your home? Does the Spirit dwell there? Then maybe, just maybe, perhaps the Most High has placed his name on there, on that home. Guys, if you're tracking with me, give me 100 down below. If you're understanding what I'm saying, okay? If you're tracking with me. Okay, so we're going to go to Matthew 24. We're going to look at it. Let's look at Matthew 24. Okay? I'm still going to look at it out of the... you know what? I'll look at it out of the Scriptures version. This one's kind of be a mixed version, right? Be mixed between King James and the Scriptures version. I'm sure some of you guys would appreciate that. Some people say, "No, let's get into the Scriptures, or let's go into the Sefer or something." And then some people just like, I just started to understand the King James, and then you switch up on me and use a whole nother translation. So I mix it up. So this particular lesson, it's a feast day. Let's have fun. Okay, this one is for everybody. Okay, it's a little bit for everybody. Okay, Matthew or Matthew 24. And I'm gonna go 29 to 31. 29 says, "And immediately after the distress of those days, the sun shall be darkened, and the moon shall not give its light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. And then the sign of the Son of Adam shall appear in the heaven. And then all the tribes of the earth shall mourn. And they shall see the Son of Adam coming out on the clouds of the heaven with power and much esteem. And much esteem. And he shall send his messengers with a great sound of a trumpet. And they shall gather together his chosen ones from the four winds, from one end of the heavens to the other." He shall gather his chosen ones. Okay? 13. So let me look at something real quick. He's going to gather together his chosen ones. Are you guys getting it? Are you guys understanding that? See, that I don't want you guys to, it's the ingathering. And I don't want anyone to miss that. That's what this is about. And yet, if we don't want to understand what these feast days mean, we can be missing something that's just right under our noses, guys. Right under our noses. Because no one told you anything about the feast days, or what does it mean. Well, feast days is part of the plan of the Most High Yah. That's what the feast days are. Part of the plan. His plan of salvation. How he's going to get his people. I'm going to go to Daniel real quick. This one's a little bit off the... let's see here. Okay, so that's not what I want. I wanted to check something in Daniel real quick, but it's not what I wanted. So thanks for bearing with me on that. It was just a quick aside, so no problem. But we are going to go to Isaiah 27. Isaiah 27, and we're going to read 12 and 13, okay? Because we're talking about he's going to gather his elect from the four winds, being all over the world, all directions, right? All over the world, right? He's going to gather them. They were literally scattered. Guess what? They're going to get literally gathered back up. We're going to be dwelling in the kingdom. This is what this is all about. Isaiah 27, 12 and 13. It says, and it shall come to pass in that day, the Lord shall beat off from the channel of the river unto the stream of Egypt. And ye shall be gathered one by one, O ye children of Israel. He's going to gather them for the four winds all over the world, right? And it shall come to pass in that day that the great trumpet shall be blown, and they shall come which were ready to perish in the land of Assyria and outcast of the land of Egypt, and shall worship the Lord in the holy mountain of Jerusalem. Okay, so that day is coming, right? So there was a day where they were not going to do it, but then there's a day where he's going to gather them back together, and then they will be doing it, right? Is it all lining up? Okay, are we understanding? Is it all lining up? Okay. So let's look at something else here. Let's go to 1 Thessalonians, right? 1 Thessalonians, we're going to go to chapter 4. Okay. Hopefully this is all starting to line up. It's starting to make sense to you. Okay. 1 Thessalonians chapter 4 and 14. For if we believe that Jesus, or Yeshua, died and rose again, even so them also which slept in Jesus will God bring with him. For this we say unto you by the word of the Lord, that we which are alive and remain unto the coming of the Lord shall not prevent them or go before them which are asleep. For the Lord himself shall descend from the heaven with a shout, with the voice of an archangel, with the trump of God. And the dead in Christ shall rise first. Then we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air. And so shall we ever be with the Lord. So shall we ever be with the Lord. So that's how we're going to get gathered up, right? Now, some of us, some are already in the dust of the earth, are already asleep, as Paul would put it, already asleep. And they're waiting to hear his voice. Because some will come out of the dust of the earth and you'll hear his voice, Daniel. You hear his voice and they'll come up and they'll ascend up, changed, glorified body with the Messiah. Come up, changed with the Messiah. And of those who are alive at his coming, they'll just change and then rise up. And so we will forever be with him. Where's it going? Where's it going? I mean, that's a fair question, right? Would you agree? That's fair. Let's go to Zechariah 14. We go to Zechariah 14. What do we have here? We're going to start at verse 1. Behold, the day of the Lord cometh, and thy spoil shall be divided in the midst of thee. For I will gather all nations between Jerusalem to battle, and the city shall be taken, and the houses rifled, and the women ravished, and half of the city shall go forth into captivity, and the residue of the people shall not be cut off from the city. Then shall the Lord go forth and fight against those nations, as when he fought in the day of battle. And his feet shall stand in that day upon the Mount of Olives. Where's that? Which is before Jerusalem on the east. Oh, that's pretty precise. And the Mount of Olives shall cleave in the midst thereof toward the east and toward the west. And there shall be a very great valley. And half of the mountain shall remove toward the north, and half of it toward the south. And ye shall flee to the valley of the mountains, for the valley of the mountains shall reach unto Azal. Yea, ye shall flee, like as ye fled from before the earthquake in the days of Uzziah, king of Judah. And the Lord my God shall come, and all the saints with thee, with them, will be with him. Okay? And it shall come to pass in that day that the light shall not be clear nor dark, but it shall be one day which shall be known to the Lord, not day nor night. But it shall come to pass that at evening time it shall be light. And it shall be in that day that living waters shall go out from Jerusalem, half of them toward the former sea, and half of them toward the hinder see. In summer and in winter shall it be. And the Lord shall be king over all the earth. In that day shall there be one Lord, and his name one. So we know where he's going. We know where his feet will stand. We know that the saints will be with him. We know that his angels or messengers will gather people from all over the world and set them in the land which he promised to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. These are the things we can read for ourselves. We see this ourselves. Amen. This is why it's critically important for us to understand these things. That way we have a holistic picture. We have a picture of what is going on. So that we have a hope. See, things like this gives a reason for the hope that is within you. This is how you have that reason. You know what you live for. You live for something bigger than you. You live for something that's beyond you. You move yourself from being carnal and being short-sighted to, beyond me, beyond this day, beyond this realm, beyond this life, there's something else coming. There's something else happening behind the scenes right now. Something is being prepared right now. Something going on in the heavens right now. Something is taking place. And all I have to do is decide whose side I want to be on. And how do I do that? Obeisance, worship, covenant. Don't let someone take that away from you. Because the day is coming that's the only thing that's going to save you. That's the only way you're going to secure your salvation. And they may come where you have to perhaps maybe even deny that which you serve. A day where there's someone, something, the system, something is going to apply pressure. Will you be able to stand? That's the question. Will you be able to stand in that day? You and I, we have to have the courage of our convictions, brothers and sisters. We have to have that in order to survive, in order for us to be able to stand in that day. See, right now, the pressure's not on. But the day is coming where the pressure will be on if you're alive long enough. Let's keep it going. Revelation 15. Revelation 15. We're going to start over at verse 1. And I saw another sign in heaven, great and marvelous, 7 angels having the 7 last plagues. For in them is filled up with the wrath of God. And I saw, as it were, a sea of glass mingled with fire, and them that had gotten the victory over the beast, and over his image, and over his mark, and over the number of his name, stand on a sea of glass, having the harps of God. And they sing the songs of Moses, the servant of God, and the song of the Lamb, saying, Great and marvelous are thy works, Lord God Almighty. Just and true are thy ways, thou King of saints. Who shall not fear thee, O Lord, and glorify thy name? For thou only art holy. For all nations shall come and worship before thee, for thy judgments are made manifest. For all these people will come and worship before thee. So we know where he is. We know he's going to gather his people. And now it's also saying that everybody's going to come and worship you. Really? Really? But hey, brothers and sisters, we better figure this thing out. Because the day is coming. It is coming. I was speaking about, I just spoke about, the world, a system or something that is going to apply pressure. Well, one of those pressure things is going to be the mark of the beast. We all look at Financial Times. I mean, hopefully, we kind of keep track or at least hear about things that's about to come to pass. And, you know, you may have heard, hey, the dollar's about to collapse. You know, the dollar's about to collapse. It's collapsing, and things like that. Well, what do you think is going to happen? Because you already have the BRICS nations already deciding, okay, well, we don't want the dollar. They're going to dump the dollar. You got to understand the dollar is the world reserve currency at present. And you have the BRICS nation, okay? Brazil, Russia, India, China, and some others adding on, who says, you know what, we don't want the American dollar. So what did that do? That weakens the dollar and it inflates it. Because they want to give back the dollar, right? They want to give it back. We don't want you to keep it. So now you got more dollars over here. And it's worth less. That's inflation. If it takes more dollars to buy that loaf of bread or that carton of eggs, it takes more dollars to get the same loaf. That's inflation. And so, I'm glad you got that idea. So, let me say this. When the dollar becomes useless, then what do you think they're going to go to? A digital dollar, right? They're already talking about, you know, CBDCs and things like that, right? No, this is not all crypto, okay? But I'm talking about CBDC's government, okay? Government backed, right? Which means it's digital, which means they know everything about it, which means they know when it goes in your account, which means they know how much you have and what you spent it on. If everything is digital, they gave it to you, or you got paid in it, they gave it to you, and they know how much you have and what you spent it on. Track everything. And it's all digital. Now, when they want you to do something and then you have to comply, you get cut off, which means you can't buy or sell. Okay, y'all don't want to hear that. Y'all don't want to hear that. Okay, let's keep on with the feast. Okay, I'm trying to prepare you. I'm trying to prepare you. You guys, y'all keep that conversation going in the comments. Okay, just keep it going in the comments. I'm gonna keep doing the lesson here. Okay, I'm gonna keep doing the lesson here, but you guys keep that conversation going down below. Right. So let's go back to Zechariah 14. Zechariah 14. I'm going to start at verse 11. Verse 11, it says this, and men shall dwell in it, and there shall be no more utter destruction, but Jerusalem shall be safely inhabited. Safely inhabited, right? And this shall be the plague wherewith the Lord will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth. And it shall come to pass in that day that a great tumult from the Lord shall be among them, and they shall lay hold every one on the hand of his neighbor, and his hand shall rise up against the hand of his neighbor. And Judah also shall fight at Jerusalem, and the wealth of all the heathen round about shall be gathered together, gold and silver and apparel in great abundance. And so shall be the plague of the horse, or the mule, or the camel, and of the ass, and of all the beasts that shall be in these tents as this plague. And it shall come to pass that everyone that is left of all the nations which came against Jerusalem shall even go up from year to year to worship the King, the Lord of armies, or the Lord of hosts, and to keep what? The Feast of Tabernacles. The Feast of Tabernacles. And it shall be that whoso will not come up of all the families of the earth unto Jerusalem to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, even upon them shall be no rain. That's no big deal. Well, if you get no rain, you get no crops. You get no crops, you have no food. And if the families of Egypt go not up, and come not, that have no rain, so if that's not enough, there shall be the plague, wherewith the Lord will smite the heathen that come not up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. if you don't want to come. So you have an option. This is in the kingdom, this is after this is after. The Levitical priesthood is set back up and everything, but this is after. You have to keep it. This is why I say we do this, because it's a dress rehearsal. It's not going to be new to you because you've already been trying to do it. You're not like someone who's not trying to hear it. These people here, hard-headed, those who come not up. Hard head, soft behind. You guys know the old colloquialism, right? Leviticus 25 and 10. Leviticus 25 and 10. Let's go ahead and start getting the last few scriptures out. Leviticus 25 and 10, okay? And ye shall hallow the 50th year, we talked about that earlier, and proclaim liberty throughout all the land unto the inhabitants thereof, and it shall be a jubilee unto you. And ye shall return every man unto his possession, and ye shall return every man unto his family. Freedom, total liberation. That's what this is. Complete liberation. It's over. The debt is cleared. Our sin debt's clear, right? The debt is cleared. Let's go to Leviticus 23 and 39. Leviticus 23 and 39. It says, also in the 15th day of the 7th month, when ye have gathered in the fruit of the land, ye shall keep a feast unto the Lord 7 days. And on the first day shall be a Sabbath, and on the 8th day shall be a Sabbath. That's why I say don't work the first day and don't work the 8th day, or the last day of it, right? The 8th day, which is why, again, I have an 8th day lesson, because, it closes it out. And he shall take you on the first day the boughs of goodly trees and branches of palm trees and boughs of thick trees and willows of the brook, and ye shall rejoice before the Lord your God 7 days. Now, some people go to other people's house and they'll set up a tent or something like that, but you have some butter muffin, dirty foot duck come in and be like, well, nope, you got to do it like this. You got to get the boughs of thick trees and the willows of the brook. Okay, you got to get the palm trees. You got to get all the branches and all. I'm like, you can't please everybody. You just can't. Ignore these people. That's all I can. Just ignore these people. If you go somebody's land or whatever, or someone's backyard or whatever, just set up a tent if you want to. If you want to set up a tent, fine. If you want to go get some palm trees and boughs of thick trees and the willows of the brook, if you want to do that, knock yourself out. Okay? Knock yourself out. Nehemiah 8. Nehemiah 8. I'm going to start at 14. Nehemiah 8, I'm going to start at 14. And they found written in the law, which the Lord had commanded by Moses, that the children of Israel should dwell in booths in the feast of the 7th month. And they shall, and that they should publish and proclaim in all their cities and in Jerusalem, saying, go forth unto the mount and fetch olive branches and pine branches and myrtle branches and palm branches and branches of thick trees to make booths, or tents, right? As it is written. So the people went forth and brought them and made themselves booths, every one upon the roof of his house. So if you're in a house, sleep in the backyard. Get a tent, sleep in the backyard, right? On the roof of his house, and in their courts. Or let me just say, on the roof of his house. A lot of people, you can't do that because you have these slanted roofs and stuff like that. But I'm just saying, some people are so literal that they're gonna be like, no, brother, it says be on your rooftops. Okay, the houses back then and houses right now, completely different design, but fine. Okay, fine. Let's see here. We're in 16, the middle of 16. Okay, right here it said, went forth and brought them, made themselves booth, everyone upon the roof's house, and in their courts. There's your yard, and in the courts of the house of God, and in the streets of the Watergate. There you go. There's your yard, your backyard, front yard, or whatever, and in the streets of the gates of Ephraim. So there you go. And all the congregation of them that were come again out of the captivity made booths and sat under the booths. For since the days of Yeshua the son of Nun, unto that day had not the children of Israel done so. And there was very great gladness. They're happy to get back to what they know they should be doing, right? They're happy to get back to that. Okay. 18. Also, day by day, from the first day unto the last day, he read in the book of the law of God. And they kept the feast 7 days. And on the 8th day was a solemn assembly according unto the manner, or like they're supposed to do. Okay? And every day you read the book. So I will start this for you, men. I'm talking to the men. I will start this for you and I will end it for you with these lessons, right? So the first day, I have a Bible lesson for you. The days in between, read some Bible, read Torah, get yourself a Torah portion along with your feast on Torah. Get yourself a Torah portion, read a little bit, say maybe a chapter each day. Okay, read it before your family. You guys talk about it, stuff like that. Just read a chapter every day. Okay, and then on the last day, on the 8th day, you come back to this lesson. Boom, I give you more. Deal? Deal? We shake on it? All right, let's do that, gentlemen. All right, so let's go 2 Peter. We're talking about tabernacle. There's a dual meaning in all this, right? 2 Peter 1. Okay, we'll start at 13. 2 Peter 1, start at 13. 13 through 15. 13 says, Yea, I think it meet, as long as I am in this tabernacle, speaking of his body, to stir you up by putting you in remembrance, knowing that shortly I must put off this tabernacle, even as our Lord Jesus Christ has showed me. Moreover, I will endeavor that ye may be able after my decease to have these things always in remembrance. Okay, so I'm using this to tell you I'm putting the feast days in remembrance of you. You, gentlemen, learn it, practice it, and teach your family. Okay, so I'm keeping this in remembrance of you. I want you to keep that. Also, your whole the tabernacle. This body is our tabernacle. It's the only one we have right now. But this is our tabernacle. And we need to keep that as holy as possible. Now, how do you keep this tabernacle holy? Dietary law. 2 Corinthians 5. 2 Corinthians 5, 1 through 4. 1 says this, For we know that if our earthly house of this tabernacle were dissolved, we have a building of God, an house not made with hands, eternal in the heavens, an immortal body. For in this we groan earnestly, designed to be clothed upon with our house, which is from heaven, our immortality, right? If so be that being clothed, we shall not be found naked. Nice, righteous, immortal body. For we that are in this tabernacle do groan, being burdened, not for that we would be unclothed, but clothed upon, that mortality might be swallowed up of life, that mortality might be swallowed up with immortality, that we might be immortal, that we can put off this tabernacle and get that heavenly tabernacle, trade in this terrestrial body for a celestial one. That is to say, an immortal one. 1 Corinthians 15. 1 Corinthians 15, I'm going to start at 35. We'll jump around a little bit. But some men will say, how are the dead raised again, and with what body do they come? So, we're just talking about that body, that new tabernacle, right? Thou fool, that which thou sowest is not quickened except it die. It's not made alive unless it dies, right? And that which thou sowest not that body that shall be, but bare grain, it may chance of wheat or of some other grain. But God giveth it the body as it has pleased him, and to every seed his own body. All flesh is not the same flesh, but there is one kind of flesh of men, another flesh of beasts, another of fishes, another of birds. There are also celestial bodies and bodies terrestrial. But the glory of the celestial is one, and the glory of the terrestrial is another. And we're not the same. That ain't this, and this ain't that, right? It's not the same. There is one glory of the sun, and another glory of the moon, and another glory of the stars, for one star differeth from another star in glory. So also is the resurrection of the dead. It is sown in corruption, it is raised in incorruption. It is sown in dishonor, it is raised in glory. It is sown in weakness, it is raised in power. It is sown a natural body, it is raised a spiritual body. There's a natural body and there's a spiritual body. Let's drop down to 47. The first man is of the earth, earthy. The second man is the Lord from heaven. As is the earthy, such are they also that are earthy. And as is the heavenly, such are they also that are heavenly. And as we have borne the image of the earthy, We shall also bear the image of the heavenly. Drop down to 51. Behold, I show you a mystery. We shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trump. For the trumpet shall sound, and the dead shall be raised incorruptible, and we shall be changed. For this corruptible must put on incorruption, and this mortal must put on immortality. So when this corruptible shall put on incorruption, and this mortal shall put on immortality, then shall be brought to pass the saying that is written, death is swallowed up in victory. Death is swallowed up in victory. That's part of it too. Where we will be in a tabernacle. We'll have a brand new tabernacle when we go over to New Jerusalem. We'll have a new heaven, new earth, New Jerusalem, new tabernacle, sanctuary, new tabernacle body. All new. That's what all this symbolizes in that gathering. Being together made anew. Okay. Your homework assignment. Talking about dwelling in booths and understanding that all we have, in this whole creation, right? All we have is this finite time. Okay? This finite time. 7 is complete. It's complete. It's it. It's done. 8 is eternity. Right? Obviously, there's some who believe that we're on a rather young earth, right? Rather young earth. I know not everyone believes it. I know. Relax. Relax. Let me just make the point. It says like 6,000 years, right? And that's pretty much almost up, right? Then the 7,000 years is almost up as far as man and things like that. And we're going to close it out because that's all that's why we have the 6 days you're going to work, 6 days you work, 7 is going to be a rest. 6,000 years of history on the 7,000, that 1,000-year millennial reign, that is the kingdom and all that. That's different. Then of course the 8th day, that's eternity, right? I'm just making a point here. So read Leviticus 23, 41 through 43, right? Read that. I want you guys to understand that. Read that. And I also want you to read Leviticus 23 and 3. Okay? Because it said 6 days should work be done, but the 7th is the Sabbath of rest, right? Meaning that's all we got. That's all you got, right? And it's repeated over and over and over to kind of give us an understanding. That's all you got. We don't have this infinite time. Not in this fleshly tabernacle. Now let's look at how we keep the feast, right? Let's get an example of how we keep the feast. We're going to go to Deuteronomy 14 and close it out. What do we do? What do I do? Okay, no problem. Let's look at it. Okay. Deuteronomy 14, we're going to start at 22. Thou shalt truly tithe all the increase of thy seed, that the field bring it forth year by year. Okay. Now, obviously, the tithe is originally your crops and animals and things like that, right? But that's how wealth was measured, right? When you start getting into shekels and silvers, that's how wealth is transferred. Okay. 23. And thou shalt eat before the Lord thy God in the place which he shall choose to place his name. There we go. I told you we get back to this. In the place that he shall choose his name. Okay, to place his name there. The tithe of thy corn and of thy wine and of thy oil and the firstlings of thy herd and of thy flocks, that thou mayest learn to fear the Lord thy God always, right? This is your wealth, right? All this, right? And if the way be too long for thee, so that thou art not able to carry it, or if the place, why not just simply say Jerusalem, right? They hadn't made it there yet, okay? Or if the place be too far for thee, which the Lord thy God shall choose to set his name there, once again, when the Lord thy God has blessed thee, then shalt thou turn it into money, and bind up the money in thine hand, and shall go unto the place which the Lord thy God shall choose. Again, shall choose. And thou shalt bestow that money for whatsoever thy soul lusted after. Whatever you desire, right? Nothing wrong with lust. It depends. for oxen, because lust just means desire, guys. For oxen, or for sheep, or for wine, or for strong drink, or for whatsoever thy soul desired. And thou shalt eat there before the Lord thy God, and thou shalt rejoice, be happy, thou and thine household, all of you, everybody. So there you have it, brothers and sisters. You have the Feast of Tabernacles, what it means. That he's going to gather us up from the four winds, gather us up from all over the earth. We answered the question, okay, should we be doing it now? I submit to you that I think we should. It's a memorial anyway. I even gave the reasoning that for at least 40 years they didn't do it, and there was a time that they were not in the land, they were nowhere in the land. Then of course that was captivity. The captivity, they didn't do it. Then when they were free again, they were able to do it again. And then the Messiah said, there's gonna be a time where you ain't gonna be able to do it. You ain't worship him here in this mountain. You're not gonna worship him in Jerusalem, because he's gonna be looking for some people who are going to worship him in spirit and in truth. So I gave you plenty of reason. But it's up to you. I can't go to your house and check and all that. I can't do that. All I can do is give you what thus says the Lord. And we go from there. I hope somebody has been edified. I hope you guys have been blessed with this lesson. I hope you guys get an understanding of what these feast days actually mean. To all of you, brothers and sisters, gentlemen, patriarchs, head of houses, elders, I pray that the Most High is blessing you and yours and bringing peace to your household. In Yeshua, precious, holy, and mighty name. Let it be so. Until next time, search the scriptures and prove all things. Shalom, Israel.